haven't really seen that much on stream yet from this Pokemon, but of course in recent regionals, this Pokemon did particularly do quite well. So we see on how this is gonna go.
Let's find out. Game number 1. We see the Azumarill from Sneeuwman into Galarian Corsola from QuBu. And this is a very neutral matchup. Do keep in mind that this Galarian Corsola, important detail, has sunglasses. The same ones as Amanda, I think. But both Pokemon are very bulky. I think that Galarian Corsola will barely win this matchup just because Astonish and Nightshade together are just so strong.
Yeah, this is looking very cool because of those sunglasses, of course, but also just the Astonish and the Nightshade is just chunking away on the Azumarill. But yeah, as you said already, two very bulky Pokemon. It's going to be quite a neutral matchup, but Corsola seems to be in a little bit of a better spot.
And for those who want to relive some memories, in the back from Sneeuwman, we see the Medicham Licky core. Now, this used to be Lickitung a couple seasons ago, but this core covers just about everything here. So on one hand, is Sneeuwman happy to see Galarian Corsola here because Medicham avoids. On the other hand, that could have been a great target for Licky. But Licky, as we know, is a very neutral Pokemon to begin with. QuBu staying in here, though, so that will give that Medicham a way to maybe do something in this battle.
Yeah, Medicham looks quite promising here, but again, this battle is very, very neutral. We're gonna see that. Oh, we see
trying to get the Astonish down, but wasn't able to. Gets bubbled down instead. Has an Ice Beam loaded. Shadow Quagsire comes in, and this is not exactly a bulky Pokemon. But the other option was to take a super effective Ice Beam. You don't want that either.
Yeah, QuBu, I don't think that was really the play that he wanted to do there. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have a bit of an energy advantage, at least, on your Quagsire. Now you're going to see here, of course, the Medicham coming in, but it's not in range kind of for the Dynamic Punch.
Now, both Pokemon don't deal a lot of fast attack pressure here, so this is really going to rely on this charge attacks that we're going to see through here. Medicham is quite bulky though, so it will hang on quite comfortably here. We see the Dynamic Punch coming through. Now this will knock out Shadow Quagsire. Does QuBu shield this or not? He kind of needs his Shadow Quagsire because this would be a lot for Unova Stunfisk alone to do.
Especially because the Unova Stunfisk...
Oh, the catch!
Is going to be, of course, weak to the Ice Punch, but yeah, the catch is coming in here onto the Mud Bomb, still doing some solid damage, but yeah, again, you can at least now maybe get a bit more energy on the Quagsire and then utilize your Stunfisk.
QuBu really needs to get all that energy. This is a great opportunity to get that energy and a catch on the Body Slam here. Shadow Ball would have been way more efficient, so this is a great play for QuBu to sponge some energy. Yeah, you have that energy on the Quagsire now. Now you have to get energy on this Unova Stunfisk.
And we have a lot of energy already on this Unova Stunfisk, going now for the Discharge, actually, because you need to have 2 charge moves anyway against this Licky. Discharge is a little bit of a cheaper move. This is going to do some solid damage, and enough for another Discharge to maybe do enough.
I like that. I like going for 2 Discharge here, but will this knock out? It's going to get really close. Discharge doesn't do a lot of damage. Sneeuwman actually puts up the Protect Shield. He really wants to get the Shadow Ball off. No, he keeps the energy. Now goes into Medicham for a super effective Ice Punch, which will do about 35% damage to the bulky Stunfisk. Keep in mind that Shadow Quagsire still has a lot of energy. Here it comes, and it will outpace Medicham to 2 charge attacks if it wants to. Ooh, but going for the Mud Bomb instead of the Aqua Tail.
This is doing a little bit more damage than that Aqua Tail, but it's mostly still not going to be enough to knock out this Medicham. So you have to go for another charge move here as well in order to threaten it. But again, Ice Punch is coming through without a charge move being thrown by the Quagsire.
This is so awkward. How far is the clock for Sneeuwman? Does he get Thundershock down here, or can he go to Licky? Oh, I think that this Unova stuff is going to get far too much energy. That's 3 Thundershock, and you need 2 Shadow Ball here. 1 to strip the shield. I think that Sneeuwman actually will have this.
Yeah, I think there's so much energy on the Licky that this Shadow Ball will be enough to get the shield, but never mind, there's no shield in play. The Shadow Ball gonna land, and 1 more rollout is all it takes.
What a great play from both trainers here. Sneeuwman identifying the win condition. I will get to 2 Shadow Ball here anyway. I will go for it. And QuBu knew that, so he was hoping that Sneeuwman for some reason would go for the Body Slam here, and he had to call that. But it was a Shadow Ball. Great play by Sneeuwman, great play by QuBu.
Yeah, I think QuBu mostly wasn't too happy with the energy that was kind of sometimes a bit wasted, but again, great play from Sneeuwman there. Like being able to utilize the damage against the Quagsire with Quagsire had the energy, and also, of course, in the lead matchup. That was very interesting that the Corsair didn't go for the charge move, and then the Azumarill still had the Ice Beam to put the Quagsire into range for then even potentially the Medicham there. But at the end, yeah, it worked out quite well for Sneeuwman.
I think that may have just costed QuBu by not throwing the charge stack there. But yeah, otherwise Licky gets energy too. I do think that, I don't know, having the Quagsire so far behind against that Medicham really put him in a tough spot there. I do like how safe Sneeuwman played that there, because halfway that Medicham versus Quagsire matchup, he swapped out there. because I think he was like, maybe it's an Empoleon in the back. I might need that Medicham. It wasn't the Empoleon, it was Stunfisk. But it's just like the decision tree that you have in your head where you're like, if it's this, I have to do this, and I have to make sure that. And that's what defines good from great from good.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. You have to always kind of think ahead, okay, what could they have in the back? What do I need in order to deal with it? But how are those players going to adjust now? I feel like Sneeuwman is kind of happy on how he played. He's kind of happy on what he had as well. And yeah, we see on if we're going to have the Galarian Moltres maybe having some play as well. Would like to see it.
I mean, into that Shadow Quagsire, it would be great. But facing off against a Stunfisk will be very tough. If you lead Galarian Moltres into Galarian Corsola and a Shadow Quagsire in the back, like we saw in Game 1, that would be fantastic for Galarian Moltres. Because both of those Pokemon, Galarian Corsola and Quagsire, do not want to deal with a Moltres. But man, if you get it onto Togekiss or Stunfisk, that's a pain.
I wonder how those players are going to adjust, because we're going to have now game number 2 already. Let's take a look what those players are going to bring. Corsola against Medicham.
This is an excellent lead for QuBu, and he is double weak to Medicham in the back. Sneeuwman has to get out of this and answered immediately by this Empoleon. This might be what Sneeuwman is looking for, as he does have Azumarill in the back, which isn't exactly great into Empoleon either, but there's not exactly a weakness on the team again. There's nothing that's really weak to Azumarill on QuBu's team in the first place. Oh, shields immediately though. I don't think that was necessary per se, as with such a fast switch, you'd outpace the 2 Hydro Cannon regardless.
I just think QuBu just really wants to go ahead and try to align himself there, because you have to have the Medicham against that Corsola. If you have it against your normal and your Steel-type Pokemon in the back, you're going to be in big trouble. And so we see the shit coming up here from Sneeuwman as well.
I find that interesting too, because you could have taken the shield advantage in here and then take out this Empoleon with a dynamic punch, but looks like Sneeuwman might be trying to keep this Licky around, perhaps to take on Galarian Corsola later on.
Are we going to see another shield?
Oh.
We do see another shield onto the Empoleon. All the hard-hitting moves are going to be shielded, and we already have only 1 shield left on the Sneeuwman side here. The Hydro Cannon is going to land. Do we see another shield?
That would be a choice, because the Shadow Ball could be useful into Galarian Corsola, but looks like Sneeuwman is fine taking the shield advantage for the backline. But you see 2 bulky Pokemon like Galarian Corsola and Licky. Good luck getting through that. You're going to need like a Pangoro like we saw earlier on this broadcast.
And now we have here the drill play coming through. Of course, you're going to see the no shield immediately. Sneeuwman knowing at the end of the day, Medicham is going to go up against that Corsola, and you're rather going to keep the shield for the Azumarill in the back. And in comes the dynamic punch, and out goes that Empoleon, because that's going to one-shot this Pokemon.
Somehow punching on steel is super effective. It goes down the Empoleon, swapping into Azumarill here and answered immediately. QuBu wasn't even looking what was coming. He just swaps it in right away. Doesn't want to be behind energy on this Azumarill here. And now goes for the more efficient Shadow Ball.
Shadow Ball going to get shielded immediately, but QuBu is going to be quite happy with the situation, being able to align his Pokemon correctly, having still that Corsola in the back for the Medicham, where Medicham is going to struggle quite a bit, and now player is coming through trying to weaken up the Licky, but there's quite a lot more damage that Licky can take here.
Yeah, this is kind of an uphill battle for Sneeuwman here. I know Azumarill's good, you know Azumarill's good, but is it good enough to take on both Licky and Galarian Corsola? You cannot even overfarm here, or Licky will get to a body slam as well.
Yeah, Licky just gets to those moves so insanely fast, so you have to kind of take it down as soon as you can. But here's now a Shadow Ball caught onto the Medicham. That's super effective. This is going to take down the Medicham, and you still have the Corsola with a lot of HP left for the Azumarill.
I guess no one recognized that Medicham is just kind of useless here, so he just throws it in the bin to overfarm more on Azumarill. I think that an Ice Beam would have been sufficient here, but Sneeuwman doesn't want to take any chances. He goes for the player off just in case it would get caught. Now you need 2 charge stacks at the minimum into this Galarian Corsola, because it has taken no bubble damage. And I think that this Galarian Corsola is just fine getting that Nightshade off pretty soon.
Yeah, we are definitely going to go into game number 3 at this point, because this is going to do enough damage to get it at least into Astonish range. And now Azumarill, like we know already, Corsola is one of the bulkiest Pokemon. This player off is barely going to do a dent into it.
Yeah, this Galarian Corsola with the Amanda sunglasses will hang on quite fine here. As you can see, doesn't even take it into the yellow. Astonish deals a decent amount of damage. QuBu makes it a tight score here now, and we'll get a decisive game number 3.
QuBu seems very happy here with how he plays, and especially as well, like in game number 1, he had the potential as well to do a little bit more if he played the lead matchup, maybe a bit more towards what he wanted to play it out there. But now he was able to kind of fight back, and is now in game number 3, which is an interesting game now, because both players are running quite unique teams, like they're quite different compared to each other. We have only 2 Pokemon that are the same in the Empoleon and the Licky, and so we have a lot of potential for them to adjust with maybe Pokemon the opponent wouldn't really expect here or have that much practice with.
Do you think that this might just be the time to bring out the dark and flying type Galarian Moltres? What do you think?
I think it would be a cool choice here. I don't think that the...
Is it cool or are you going to win with it? Like, cool is one thing, but you want to win too.
We had the Corsair just now doing so much damage there, so I do think there's definitely a target for it. And I do think that Corsair mostly is coming up here again as well, because you kind of want to cover for that Medicham, so might be an interesting choice to maybe even bench something like the Medicham and bring in the bird.
The thing that I think Galarian Moltres does better than Licky, because they both take on this Galarian Corsola so well, is that Empoleon matchup. Because I think that QuBu is now trying to rely on Galarian Corsola and Empoleon core, which is pretty much unbreakable. That's why I think Galarian Moltres might just do that a little bit better. It's not exactly an Empoleon counter, but Sucker Punch adds up so much that you might have play there. If you fall into the trap of Stunfisk though, Galarian Moltres gets shut down easily.
Yeah, I really hope that we would see now the Galarian Moltres. Again, Stunfisk, I mean, it is very solid into Sneeuwman's team as well, so I could definitely see that we could see this Pokemon again as well. But yeah, I do think that Moltres, especially with knowing that the Corsair is very likely to come here, would be an interesting choice.
Sneeuwman is locked in at last, and now this is a very risky line. He went very weak to Stunfisk, but there's no Stunfisk to be found on the team of QuBu. This is actually a very neutral matchup. If QuBu wins Charge Security tie here, then Togekiss will win this matchup. Trying to catch on Licky, which is not exactly strong against this Empoleon either, so this is kind of a choice of swap in. You will be able to get to another Hydro Cannon here as Sneeuwman, or does he now swap in his own?
He might swap in his own here as well, but the Hydro Cannon is doing so much. Another Hydro Cannon coming through. This is going to do so much damage against the Licky.
Still no shield.
Still no shield coming up here, and I think Sneeuwman is quite happy on how the situation going out here right now. As you're going to see, there is going to be now the swap out into the Licky, but the QuBu's Licky are so low.
Also, I think that Sneeuwman was hoping to catch that Shadow Ball on Licky. This is a great opportunity for QuBu to get some damage in and maybe get some energy on that Togekiss as well. But Sneeuwman is gathering a lot of energy here too. You cannot swap in your Galarian Corsair as QuBu, so you have to soak all the damage on Togekiss. And Togekiss is quite fragile actually. Here it comes. Looks like QuBu cannot afford this Licky to get too much energy. So, oh, let's this go. This might actually knock out.
This will very likely knock out, but you kind of just try to keep the shields for the Empoleon, I guess, in order to do a lot of damage, because you expect, of course, the Corsair in the back there. And in comes now the Empoleon doing a lot of fast move pressure, Aura Seal coming through, and of course you want to shield this move up.
Jonkers, does he know? Does he know what is in the back? Does Sneeuwman know? I think at this point, as Sneeuwman, you are praying that there's not a Unova Stunfisk in the back, but that the Pokemon in the back is the one you have been trying to target this entire time. And I think his QuBu is hoping it's going to be a Medicham. But oh, what a surprise this will be. I want to see Sneeuwman's face when he sees that Galarian Moltres. Well, there's hardly emotion, but I know from the inside he's very happy here.
He must be very happy. We very like to go see the shield coming up, and now we see the swap into the Moltres. Going up against the Corsair, finding its target, and even those sunglasses won't help you here anymore.
And yes, there you see, we see the catch attempt here. I'm not sure if it even matters. A Power Gem won't take out this Galarian Moltres in one charge stack. You don't even need Dark-type charge stacks for this Galarian Corsola, because this is what Galarian Moltres was made for, to eat up those ghosts.
And now it's a fast move damage that's adding up. A bait coming through. I feel like maybe it's the only choice there. I don't know. We're gonna see the shield coming up. I don't think that the Power Gem would be enough at this point anyway. But in comes the fast move damage. In comes the... maybe the Brave Bird? Now we see the Fly coming through.
Not taking any chances there. It's getting actually pretty close into Power Gem range. If this Galarian Corsola hangs on, wait. It barely hangs on. Does it have the Power Gem? Wait, it catches as well. It didn't matter anyway. And Poli was way too healthy. Sneeuwman just trying to flex a little bit here. He really needs these championship points to qualify for the World Championships. And this is a great step for Sneeuwman to get further. Congratulations to him on making it to Losers Round 6.
I found this a very, very interesting matchup, because we saw both players adjust multiple times their teams to try to counter each other. And at the end, bringing that Moltres, having a little bit of...
paid off.
It paid off. Having a little bit of hope that there's no Stunfisk in the back definitely paid off there.
Stunfisk was pretty good for QuBu.